All he has to do is plug into his jack. Yeah. So those things.
Well, I'm Representative Jamie Long, and I am just so thrilled to be out here for Liz Ryer today. She is an incredible colleague who has really hit the ground running in the legislature in her first year, and she, I think, has been such a courageous and values-driven leader for us in the Minnesota House of Representatives. I've also gotten the chance to work with her closely on a number of climate issues where she's really leaned in and taken a leadership role, been calling me up and asking big questions about how she can be helpful on these really important issues to us. So I am 100% behind Liz as she's standing for re-election here, and the entire caucus is too, because she's such a champion and somebody who we all get behind and all are huge fans of.
Well, my name is Dan Wolgamott, and I have the incredible honor of serving with Liz at the Capitol. And we sit on the Health Finance Committee, and let me tell you, she is such an incredible asset on the Health Committee. Her perspective and knowledge of how our healthcare system works, of our medical system, is absolutely invaluable as we fight to provide healthcare and quality of services for all Minnesotans. So Liz really is a champion for her community. She is a hard worker, she is a great friend, and I'm so happy that she's on our team. So Liz has my full support. She has the support from so many people at the Capitol, and really hope you'll get involved in her campaign. We need to get Liz back in the House of Representatives. So thanks, Liz, for running for re-election. We got your back, and I hope you'll join us in doing everything that you possibly can to get Liz Ryer back elected to the House of Representatives. We need her back. Thank you.
So glad to be here. Yeah, the candidate must be around here.
I know, like, are you wearing sweatpants and stuff? It's fine.
Welcome, everybody. It's so exciting to have you all here. We're just delighted that you've come to celebrate the kickoff of the re-election campaign of Liz Ryer, our representative. I'm John Wells, and I'm going to just be your MC tonight, today, which is just my way of saying I'm going to introduce the folks who are going to really say what needs to be said. I'm not loud enough. Okay, Hugh, can you turn up the volume a little bit? Jim, that's the first time anybody's accused me of not speaking loudly enough. Well, if you know Liz, you know she stands for equity and justice in all phases of our lives, and that's what makes her so remarkable, and we're so lucky to have you for that reason. So I'm trying to think of the theme of all of our speakers. All of them stand for equity and justice. Imagine that we all do, since we support Liz and love Liz so much. But so equity and justice. First of all, equity and justice for our very first speaker. This is more of both an equity and a justice thing. I'm remembering when DFL 51, I think it might have been before I was chair, had an event at an apple orchard outside of Hastings. And that's where we saw equity and justice take place with our first speaker. And it was when Rob Schumer and Jim Carlson got into bins of grapes right next to each other on a stage and started splashing each other. And there was a lot of equity in that, having a senator do that with Rob. He's a letter writer, but otherwise, well, I don't know. I guess there's equity there, but you did find justice in that event, I know, afterwards. And the grapes, I have to say, were not measly old white grapes, they were red grapes. And Jim, everybody was wearing shorts, and Jim, I still have photos of that, so don't cross me. So our first speaker is Senator Jim Carlson, who has been a marvelous representative of us since 2006, and with a little hiatus in 2010 when I think we went on vacation for 2 years, I don't know. But we're so glad that he's been here to be our senator and to ably represent us at the Capitol. Our challenge, which Jim might mention, and elections is to make sure he's no longer in the minority so that we can actually get something done in
We have our priorities. My number one priority is actually to stay safe, but my number one state priority is to turn over the Senate. We are working hard to do that. We have a lot of people that are dedicated to do different jobs that are within the Senate, and this is not going to be something that we're not taking very, very, very seriously. And that requires us to go to our every fundraiser that we possibly can, including those that might be for our representatives in our district, because by the way, we have a major election coming up, and that election also, besides electing senators and representatives, it elects our constitutional officers statewide. So that's where we need every vote from every district in all areas of Minnesota. So that is extremely important. So that's what we're doing. What are you doing? You're doing something too. What we need to have you do. And I brought some things here that I'll lay on the table. Is some of the reports that I got this week from sitting in on one of the Minnesota Department of Health presentations on COVID. We have those. They have been coming out about once a week where we do have a one-on-one. And I know Liz is always there and Sandy is usually there. So we are able to ask questions, we are able to pose questions and get answers from the experts from the Minnesota Department of Health. And I'm here to tell you that there is so much misinformation and disinformation that we're fighting that constantly. I'm fighting it constantly in my email. I'm fighting it constantly with phone calls. And I can tell you that also, for instance, masks on kids. I have a 3.5-year-old grandson who thinks wearing a mask is really a big deal because his daddy wears one. He is not opposed to wearing a mask at all. We have young kids that will wear masks because they see other people wearing masks, or they understand that this is something you do so you don't get other people sick. But then we have adults that are telling their kids, don't wear a mask because it can kill you. And I mean it. They say it can kill you. There is a constituent who has called me and filled up my answering machine 3 times, telling me that young children are dying in droves because of wearing masks, and their blood is on your hands. I don't see any blood right now, so I'm not sure how many have died, and I really want these people to cite their sources, because they're coming from a group or a consortium that is trying to tell us things that take away the confidence in our government. They're taking away the confidence in our elections. They're taking away the confidence in every institution in our state and nation. And that's what we have to react to that. I still get people writing me saying that they want a kinematic forensic audit of the Minnesota election. They don't know that we already audit them on the night of the election, but they want a kinematic forensic, and they also say that, you know, the results from Arizona ought to show you that it's needed. You know what the results from Arizona are, that Trump actually got less votes than they counted. And Biden won with a larger margin than they counted. Now, there's always human error, but this was more than human error. So we have to react to that. And I can tell you, there are these groups that have divvied up what issue they're going to misinform you on. Some of their names are the Heartland Institute, the Heritage Foundation, ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, the Center of the American Experiment, right here in the Twin Cities. These are sending out things for people to click on and send your legislator, your governor, or even other people the wrong information. And they have been telling you by getting you to click on other things. They're collecting your emails and using them to get you to be convinced that the governor is wrong, the Biden is wrong, the legislature is wrong. There is no such thing as a gun issue. all of that sorts of things that we are trying to work against. So that's the bad news. Now let's have some good news. The House has a majority of DFLers. We need to keep that. We only need a flip of 3 seats in the Senate to get the majority. That's important. That is really critical. And we think that redistricting is going to help a little bit of the DFL, the Democrats, because there are more people in the Twin Cities than there are in rural, and the population has gone up, so they need to have more representation in the areas that are predominantly DFL. So that's going to be a helper for us. And then we have some targeted races that we're going to push and make sure that we get those seats flipped. So that's the good news. And better news is that all of you are here, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the hard work you have done to get Sandy elected, to get Liz elected, to get me reelected. And let's make sure that I have these 2 great women to support me in the next session. So re-elect Liz Wire. If you haven't given enough in funds right now, write another check today. So thank you very much for coming.
I'm going to make you note this down twice here. Our next speaker has been our representative since 2006 with the same 2010 hiatus. And you know and love Sandy Mason. She has been... okay. Thank you.
Eat the mic.
Eat the mic. Our next speaker has represented us since 2006 in the legislature. And we are so lucky. She's been a community activist in Eagan for over 30 years. Maybe it's now over 40, I don't know, but long time. And we are just delighted. In the equity and justice mode, Sandy has been a leader in that regard. Actually authoring a bill that put a moratorium on, is it line 3 or PolyNet? I'm forgetting which one. Line 3. But so the thought about environmental equity is an important thing for us to think about as well. But with no more from me, welcome Sandy Mason, and first cue to Rob.
Hello, everybody. Is this coming across? Terrific. First of all, it's so great to see everybody here. Thank you so much for coming. And I want to get 3 comments out before I get into my story. But first of all, I know I have a number of colleagues from the House here. Would you all raise your hand, please? At least one senator. Will the senators raise their hands? Matt Little, would you raise your hand? Okay, he's not paying attention. He's over there. This is such an incredibly important race. So again, I appreciate you being here. We absolutely, positively need to keep the majority in the House. Because even though we have the majority in the House, we couldn't get so many good bills because of the senators. So again, we need to make some major changes there. The other thing I'm really concerned about right now is the upcoming election for school board members. And I know we've got some members here that are, or people here that are running for school board. It's important to everybody, whether you have kids in school or not, to be paying attention to the school district meetings. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of controversy, and I want this to be, again, a safe and secure election. So if you would do that, again, thank you so much. The other thing, I don't know if Liz had mentioned that, but years ago, when I first ran in 2006, a couple of friends said if I ran, they would do everything that they could to get me elected, which they did. And then after I was elected, there was a Republican governor. And I was really concerned that if something happened to me, that he would call an election and there wouldn't be anybody from my district to run. So what I did was asked a person that I had a lot of confidence in that if something happened to me, would she run? And that woman happened to be a person on my campaign team, and that was Liz Ryer. So the fact that she is now in the House and she's doing an incredible job really makes me so extremely proud and confident that we have people in the House that are trying to do the right thing, standing up for the people, the general population. What was that? Sorry about that. So again, everybody still needs to keep active, and I know the reason you're here is because you are doing active, but we need to get more people voting this time. We know how much contentious rhetoric is out there. So again, whatever you can do, thank you so much, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your support. One other thing I forgot to tell you, after I won, we had people that really made our Senate district work. First was Vicki Wright, then was John Wells, and now we have Lisa. And I cannot tell you how important it is to have a Senate district like we have. Other people are not that fortunate. So again, for everybody from my Senate district, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, in the equity and justice theme, thank you, Sandy. Equity and justice actually happens in numbers too. So, numbers. I used to be a numbers guy, but I've lost that with age. But luckily, we have somebody young and vigorous who can talk numbers and make numbers just. And that's our next speaker, Julie Blaha.
Hugh, who's taking care of us and making sure we're I'm so excited to be here, but I want to start out, I've been in my basement with good lighting. This is good lighting, at least. But the only thing left that's different is if you could all take your glasses off, and then it looks like the filter that I use to really make it blurry. Well, I am so excited to be here for Liz today, because I think we're hearing some tough things out there. Yes, this is a weird time. And luckily in my job, I get to see some of the best of what's going on. I oversee, as you know, $40 billion in local government spending, and we will be picking up another $20 billion to peek at, because we are recovering some of the jobs that have been lost in my office for the first time in 2 decades by picking up some federal oversight. So I just want to stop for a second. I want to thank Jim Carlson, who's on a committee that's important to me, for we have finally started to turn the corner in the Office of the State Auditor because of all the work you did, because we have a great governor, because we have great people like all the legislators here. So let's hear it for all of them. Now, we could now take this moment to stop and go into great detail about tax increment finance, and I know you're all into that. The thing is, I know there's like 3 of you here who are, so, but I want to give you one story recently to show that people are here for unity. Now, you may not believe that unity is something we can still achieve. There are polls that show it. It's polls that show that messages about coming together are extremely powerful right now. But if you don't believe polls, you can believe our opponents. Anytime we try to do good things, what do they accuse us of being? Divisive. Even if we're trying to bring people together over racial justice, or bring people together for climate solutions, or bring people together for housing solutions, they know how powerful that is, so they call us divisive. So if you hear the word divisive, lean in, you're probably in the right spot. But third, there was an incident in my life, and you may know about it. It's a little bit of controversy. But I think you should hear this from me first. I don't want you to hear it on the street. You may have heard it in Axios. You might have seen it on Fox 9 or WCCO. It's getting around. It's one of the things that I kind of surprisingly blew up for me. But apparently there's been a lot of chatter, and it is true. I stand by this. I start every day with coffee and Mountain Dew mixed together, and I do it unapologetically. And apparently, once that got out, that is one of the largest news stories that have been in my office for 3 years. And I have to tell you, there is some hope in it because it brought people together. It brought people, I heard from people across the country, literally, and from all across the political spectrum. I heard Republicans reaching out to me with things like, who hurt you? Or I heard Democrats saying, hey, you know what, people have been primaried for less. You know, what I found out is by simply putting a bowl of beverage together, that I have helped unite Minnesota and maybe the country in horror and disgust. And that is hopeful. Because people do, let's hear it for that. You're all thinking about that thing you love, but you don't tell everybody, but you can go ahead and tell them that, because it'll bring people together. And I mean, it's weird, it seems unusual, but honestly, people are hungry for the opportunity to come together. And it was like, remember 5-10 years ago when we used to make jokes on social media and it was actually fun? It can happen again. It can. People are looking for that. And what is so great about Liz, in particular, is she is working on some of those very issues that bring people together like no others. And I particularly want to call her out for all of her amazing work on housing. I would suggest, let's hear for housing support, for equity and availability and sustainability in housing. I tell you, when I travel across the state, no matter where I am, in Minnesota, we talk about housing. Almost every local government unit talks about housing. When people got CARES Act money, ARPA money, the first thing they said was, how can we use this for housing? So you have in your representative somebody who's in exactly the right place at exactly the right time and doing amazing work. So I'll tell you what, again, I hope you pour together whatever beverage you love, and I swear you should just try it, but drink it very, very cold, 5-to-1 ratio. And also, re-elect Liz Ryer. She's going to make sure we bring everybody together. Thank you.
It's coffee and Red Bull is the proper drink.
That's bold. That's bold.
Julie, 5-to-1 ratio, what's the 5 and what's the 1?
Either way, whatever you feel.
There is justice. So equity and justice, our next speaker is a rock star, and we're just delighted to have her here. She is our U.S. representative, Angie Craig. Nationally, we build back better, truly. So you can talk about how that's going to happen. Thanks, Angie.
Well, thank you, John Wells. It is such an honor to be back in Senate District 51. Some of you know that John Wells started this journey for me by getting me involved in my Senate District 51. So be careful if you join the DFL. Someday you too may be running and serving with lunatics in the U.S. Congress. I just want to start by saying, Liz Ryer, I thought you liked me, and then you had me follow Julie Blaha in the speaker's lineup, and so I was just a little bit concerned about that. But Julie Blaha is just an amazing auditor for the state of Minnesota. Isn't she amazing? And you know what I love about this gathering, and I'm going to tell you why I love it in a minute. What I love is, do me a favor. Every elected official in Minnesota who's here today, come up and stand over here next to me, to my left. If you've been elected, ever, the ones who should have been reelected need to get their ass up here too. So come on up, Matt Little.
That means you, Matt.
Come on, get up here, Matt Little. What I love about this Senate district, what I love about this state, what I love about the DFL is that we show up for one another. You show up for us and we show up for one another. Give a round of applause to every single one of these elected leaders across our state. This is absolutely amazing. And I just want to say what an honor it is to represent the 2nd District of Minnesota. You know, this has not been the easiest year in the U.S. Congress. I don't know if you've noticed. And there's some tough folks to work with there. And yet, 77% of the legislation that I've co-sponsored is bipartisan. It's bipartisan. But I will never, ever stop trying to bring our country together, and I will never sacrifice our values as we do that. I want to tell you this. I'm headed back to Washington tomorrow. Headed back tomorrow. It is going to be a long 3 weeks. There is a lot that we need to get across the finish line. You are going to see some twists and turns over the next several weeks. You'll probably see ideological divides. But in the end, I am so optimistic and I am so supportive. We have to get both the Build Back Better and the infrastructure bill across the finish line. Now, I read an op-ed in Newsweek a couple of weeks ago with 5 other members of Congress from the 2018 class. Those of us who are the majority makers, many of you know I was the 5th closest race in the country in 2020. We have a 3-4 seat majority depending on how you count it, and I do see Lori Halverson, so I'm just going to say, Lori Halverson, it's so good to see you. But in that op-ed, what I said to my voters is you, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, can run all the ads you want against me. Pharma, you can run all the ads you want against me. I will not break my promises to my voters. I will not do it. The special interests are hard at work trying to get those of us who represent swing districts across this nation to turn around and betray our voters. We will not do it. I'm going to make sure that prescription drug prices can be negotiated by Medicare in that final package. I'm going to make sure that we don't break our promises to our voters. We promised early childhood education. We promised trade school and community college. We promised that we would support working families in our country. And if you think the problem, one of the reasons you can't find workers right now isn't that women are not coming back to the workforce because of child care issues and responsibilities, that is how we build back better. So as I head back to Washington this week, what I want to say and remind you is in 2018, we started that night in the 2nd Congressional District with only 5 of the 19 House seats. 5 of the 19. In 2018, we ended that night with 11 of the 19 House seats. And how we did that was, number one, we had great candidates, but number 2, all of you showed up, and you brought 3 of your friends. We are facing a moment in time that only the history books 30 years from now will be able to adequately communicate. We have policy ideas and want to help the working class across our nation, and they literally want to obstruct all progress. They have no ideas, so they're trying to stop the people who vote from Democrats from voting at all. And let me tell you this, we are not going to let them. We are not going to let them in 2022. And if the orange guy comes back, he better watch out, because 2024 is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So let me tell you this as we end this afternoon. We have to send Liz Ryer back to the U.S. State Capitol of Minnesota. We have to take back the state Senate in 22. You know, they used it in a campaign ad against me in 2018, but one of the things I said publicly was the difference between 2016 and 2018 is this time we're pissed. But let me tell you this. We should be upset because they are stopping every single good piece of legislation that we try to accomplish. They're blocking gun safety laws in our nation. They're blocking voting rights. They're blocking campaign finance reform. We have to stand up. We have to get pissed off again, and we have to show up and bring three friends in 2022. Thank you so much. It is such an honor, such an honor to be here today. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
We're going to get to the second main act now, which is the reason we're all here, and that's this wonderful person named Liz Ryer. I first met Liz in that eventful year of 2006 when Sandy and June were first elected, and it was in Elaine Ayer's living room. Elaine's back by the food court back there. And Liz was the assistant leader of Sandy's campaign, and we've had a delightful time knowing each other ever since. And this lady knows what equity and justice means, and it's something deep inside you, and we're so lucky to have you. I thought we would have a hard time finding somebody to fill Lori Halverson's shoes until we got Liz Ryer, and she's magnificent. So welcome, Liz, to your
I know where John's been. Is the mic good? You can hear me? Okay. I have to say, I hear all this stuff about you don't like me because I had to follow Julie. Well, I have to follow Julie and Angie, so, and I like that, so go figure. But I'm so glad to be here for, what? Louder? Okay, is that better? Better. Okay, good. You know, this is the first time we've been able to be outside together since I even thought of starting to campaign. We campaigned in COVID and we did it on Zoom, so I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm seeing my great colleagues, I'm seeing my friends and neighbors. My heart is full and I am so grateful and so happy right now. So, kind of stole my thunder with introducing representatives, but I'm going to do that one more time because I am so grateful for my colleagues. I want to thank Representative Lippert, and who do we have over there? Howard and Jamie Long, and let's talk about Commissioner Halverson, Representative Pinto, and all of the speakers already today, and who am I missing? And Sandy, you've already spoken. There's so much.
Hunter.
Oh, hey! And our retired representative, Hunter Cantrell, and Matt Little. You know, I'm naming all these people, and Coley Herr. I'm naming all of these people, and Sandra Feist. Let's see hands. I'm naming all these people because you are so meaningful to me. Because you create an atmosphere in the House that's collegial, that's fun, that's serious, and that we're going to get things done. We're going to keep making Minnesota better by working together, and we're going to do it with flipping the Senate, and we're going to build our majority in the House. This is our time to do that. We have local officials here too, and I want to just thank, again, Commissioner Halverson and Councilman Mike Sapina. And let me introduce three really important people who are running for District 196 School Board, because Sakari Mohammed, we have Bianca Vernick, we have Art Colson. I'm too excited, I've got the adrenaline going, sorry Art. It's really important, and I'm serious here. Everyone who lives in 196, please vote for this platform, because There are people who want to turn our school districts into places where kids are punished for being who they are. Kids are not taught to think, and kids are not kept safe from COVID by people who are spreading misinformation and bias. So thank you. Vote for these three. Go vote, or vote early so that you don't forget. The last introductions are my family. I am so reliant on these rocks. My husband, Jim, my 4 kids, Joel, Craig, Robert, Alexa. Thank you all so much. You're great. I love you. But we're here today because of you. We're here today because of the people of District 51B. And I appreciate the honor to represent you. And you know, when I was a candidate, I thought I knew what that meant, and I had a goal and I had a vision. But now as your representative, it's really clear to me what that means. It means taking care of day-to-day needs, making sure that if you reach out and you have a problem, I'm there to fix it. But it also means taking the long view, and that includes working to end racial and structural racism. It means calling an end to hate, however it manifests itself. Yeah. And it means putting climate and our current crisis front and center so that we are making the world and leaving it a better place. And we put that into all of the policies that we make.
Yeah.
So when we talk about policy areas, you know, there's so many things to think about. Having the health and economic policies that people need to recover from COVID. Finding just and equitable ways to get housing and to finally deal with homelessness. To build a healthcare system where everyone in the state has medical, mental health, dental, and vision care. Eradicating the structural problems in our criminal justice system. And ensuring that all children have the resources they need in school and without, in all aspects of their lives. So you know, when I came to the House, I knew I was going to work on healthcare. It's my background. I worked in the insurance industry, and there are so many problems to fix, and I love fixing problems. So let's start, and let's just consider Medicaid. Did you know that only 37% of kids who are on Medicaid see a dentist in any given year? 1/3 of kids see a dentist. And it's something we've been talking about for a long time, but we just haven't been able to fix it. So this year, I led work to reform the Medicaid dental system, to make it easier for dentists to give care, to hold the managed care companies who are administering Medicaid dental accountable, to make sure that people are getting the care, and then also to create dental homes so innovative approaches to delivering care can be paid for and built into the system. Well, then there's climate. I came in angry about our government's lack of commitment to tackling the climate crisis and taking care of our environment. I was a group of legislators, many of whom are here, who sent a letter to President Biden demanding that he stop Line 3. And also with my colleagues led an effort to Great River Energy to make them follow through on their promise to close the Coal Creek Power Plant and end the dirty energy and revert to sustainable energy. I've also been a staunch supporter of environmental bills, been working on limiting and removing toxic chemicals from our system, and leading legislation on sustainability and bonding. And then I'm also looking at ways to author legislation about batteries and better battery storage so that we can get rid of that problem when people talk about, oh, we can't rely on wind and solar because you can't store the energy. There are ways to fix that, and we need to encourage that. not just an issue, it's our future. It's the future of all generations to come. And we have to be serious, and we have to take care of that now. At the same time, we need to make sure everyone has a bed to sleep in at night. Through my work on housing and preventing homelessness, I've been focused on investing in housing and making sure that we are solving the problems that keep kids in unstable housing, that keep companies from having the workers they need. Because right now, as a state, we spend 0.3% on housing from our state budget. 0.3%. Yet these are the programs that keep people in a productive and satisfying life. So we need to be focused on that. And so I'm working to tell the story to the public and to my fellow lawmakers about how the money we save through solving problems that could be addressed preventively through housing can be taken care of. So, you know, I'm a woman. I've always been a pro-choice woman. And now, with Texas and the Supreme Court, I am recommitted, doubling down as a member of the new Reproductive Freedom Caucus in the Minnesota legislature. And in that work, we will together resist the draconian laws that are trying to spread across the country. And we will also focus on removing the barriers to true accessibility of reproductive care in Minnesota. So there's one other thing I've learned since I've been here, and that is that I can't represent our district if I'm not spending time with people in the district day to day. So I've been going out and about. I've been at visiting Open Door, going to the Market Fest, going precinct by precinct, talking to people across the political spectrum to find out what they want and need, and understanding the district that I'm serving. I've also been out and about around the state in the bonding tours, and we're coming to see projects right here in Dakota County in November. So I want to thank you once more for allowing me to be your representative. It's an important time. It's big work to be running this campaign. I want to thank everyone who contributes to me and has contributed in the past and will again. And we have Ann Starr over here to help you if you need any help today. And I want to thank all volunteers, current and future. You can sign up here today and get a t-shirt. You see many of them around here, or go online, because I appreciate every single thing every one of you does for me, and I want to continue to earn your support, do the work to keep the House, flip the Senate, keep our great statewide people, keep Angie in Congress, and go forward into a stronger and more progressive future. Thank you. We're going to build our majority in the House. This is our time to do that. We have local officials here too, and I want to just thank, again, Commissioner Halverson and Councilman Mike Sapina. And let me introduce three really important people who are running for District 196 School Board, because we have Bianca Vernick, we have Art Colson. I'm too excited, I've got the adrenaline going, sorry Art. It's really important, and I'm serious here. Everyone who lives in 196, please vote for this platform, because There are people who want to turn our school districts into places where kids are punished for being who they are. Kids are not taught to think, and kids are not kept safe from COVID by people who are spreading misinformation and bias. So thank you. Vote for these three. Vote early so that you don't forget.